Welcome back, everybody, to the Easy Spotlight podcast. Today, I'm joined by Yannick Fischbach. I'm lucky. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I just said to you now, I don't know if I've caught you at an interesting time in life where, we're going to be kind of going a lot of different angles in this conversation. But to start out, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm feeling relaxed. I just got back from Spain, for 3 weeks, so I'm still like in siesta mode. Still got some jet lag to get over, but now I got a tan going on. I'm feeling pretty good as of the
Looking
moment.
beautiful, looking beautiful. So, if I was to give you the headline, the LinkedIn headline of Yannick, it's pro triathlete. And that's a pretty cool title. But behind that, there's a lot that's gone on. There's a lot of history, and that's why I want to start by appealing first, right?
Yeah.
So, can you just kind of give me your essentially a brief sporting history of you growing up to the point where you start getting interested in triathlon? Because I know it's not just a straightforward path there.
No, I mean it basically developed, right? I mean, as you know, uh, we know each other from the sport of football, as we call it in England, but soccer. So yeah, I mean, I grew up, just playing soccer um, at a really young age, and I mean, just being active in general, like playing hockey as well. But yeah, a quick snapshot. Just growing up, playing, in elementary school, travel teams here locally, and then high school, and that developed to, as you know, playing some college ball here at Queens in Charlotte, and yeah, it's funny because like back in the day, I was always the one that was like the worst in shape, the worst. Like every time we would do like fitness stuff, I would be like way in the back, like dying. The laps around the field. So it was always like I would always have one-on-ones with my coaches, when I was like a kid, and they'd be like, you need to like get in shape and stuff. Because I was good on like technically on the ball, but you do need some fitness to run around the soccer field. So yeah, I just started like running and stuff like when I was younger, just trying to get in shape for soccer. Yeah, and then I never really thought anything of it, and just running 30 minutes a day. Um, and that I just always kept like running. Like even in college, like even if we would have like 2 sessions, I would even like go for a run. Like it just got kind of like um addicting, like to keep pursuing like fitness. um so yeah, I mean, I think like it really started off with running and soccer, and then after you graduate, I played like some adult league here, but it's not the same as like college. It's not it's The quality isn't as good. It's not as like competitive, and it's just like it's just different. It's like not as legit. So yeah, then I just started like really, really running a lot. I got into like the 5Ks, the half marathon, and started looking into like the full marathon and like Boston. It's like I think that's where like kind of it all starts. Like everyone wants to qualify for Boston, and then like you start, going into other areas. But yeah, just I started noticing I was like not too bad at that, and it just man, it was like a snowball. Like it just kept getting rolling, and now here I am, like
So,
competing on the pro level on in triathlon, which is like I never thought I would be doing that.
and that's the crazy thing I want to dive into first from a perspective of before you even got to into triathlon, right? Because you're saying from a kid growing up, that wasn't the thing that naturally came to you.
No,
'Cause
I'm amazed to see the kids like even at Queens, running on the track. I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like, why are you just running around like I don't understand. And I even like would see cyclists like on the road, like when driving, you're like, what are you doing on the road? Like, and now like literally I'm the guy on the road. Probably cars behind me, like, honking at me and wanting me to get out of the way. But it's crazy. It's crazy how that works. How,
Right.
yeah.
And you're there, you're playing soccer, you're playing football, and that is your main passion growing up. We
Hmm.
both went to Queens, we played soccer in college, and I think how you kind of described it is how everyone goes through that process after, if they're not going to a professional level. You kind of go away from doing it every day, you're now playing Sunday league or Thursday night rec league, and you're like,
Yeah.
this ain't the competition. What am I wasting my time here? And those other interests start to come in. So you said running was like your introduction.
Yeah.
Um,
It was running, and actually like I got into, I don't know. I honestly, like, I think about it. I actually thought about it because I know I was going to do this. And I was like, how did I even like find out about Ironman? Or I just remember being at work and like I had like some downtime, and I don't know how like Ironman came up, and I was like, oh, I want to do that, like the half, because I saw the full, like the distance, right? It's like 140.6 miles, and I was like, that's stupid. I can do the half. So I got a buddy of mine to sign up for that. And then like I didn't even like get into cycling till like, I mean, usually you get like a road bike before, and I had like a TT bike, so it's like training on that. But yeah, it's just it's crazy how like it all just develops like, and I mean it took some years, but it's yeah, it's crazy to think about.
think back, right? Because you've gone from this, you've started getting in, you started running more, you started looking at events, different running 5Ks, 10Ks, and I
Mhm.
would say the large majority, say the world we live in, probably we know a lot of athletic people or people who generally take their fitness somewhat seriously or an interest in it, right? And I
Mhm.
think everybody, regardless of their level at some point, would have started running, start thinking, oh, maybe I can be better at this. Maybe I'll do Boston one year. Maybe I'll go for Ironman. But to make the jump all the way to pro athlete, and a lot of people have even had that thought because how many people actually get into this sport in their 20s or later in life because it's a sport where you can do that and
Right.
develop. But
Yeah.
there's a big gap between actually doing it and doing it one time and thinking, wow, that was a big commitment.
Yeah. No,
And
you gotta like it for sure.
right, and you're also known as I was going to say, because your Instagram page is all day I dream about it. So
Mm.
how does that? Where does that come from? Where does, I'm going to say, an obsession for the sport kind of
Well, yeah,
develop?
I just think like pro triathlete is basically just like an exercise addict, pretty much. Yeah, I named it All Day I Dream About It, and it kind of goes like with soccer, right? Because like, all day I dream about soccer, like Adidas. So I just kind of like, because I do like, man, I'm 24/7, like triathlon, you know what I mean, or like fitness or like recovery. Um, so it's just like all day, right? Like I even had it like all day.
I love it.
Doing my own little like thing just for, shits and giggles. But um yeah, that's where like that name came up. But
So
yeah.
explain the snowball. Explain you starting to run, starting to get in it, thinking,
Well,
and
I
where
think
was that moment where you're like, "Ooh, I'm a little good at this."
um I don't know. I think I was still like at Queens, but it was like I think it was when the season was over, like senior year, and I was like doing other stuff like running. I remember I did a half over by Davidson College, and I won some money. And I was like, I think that's where I was like, maybe I can like if I can exercise and just like make some money, that'd be pretty cool. So that's like it just like, and I really remember a guy being like, like that's pretty like whatever. I can't remember what time I did, but he was like, that was pretty fast. And I told him like, I'm not really even like training. I'm just like, that was just me. Like, I just went out. I mean, I still had like the phone like on my arm with like the headphones. Like, like no one like professionally running or like legit running is like doing like has that. And he was just like, that's pretty good, man. You should, keep doing this. Like, you know, you can have some fun doing that. So that was a moment where like, I mean, it wasn't really like that was the defining moment, but it was like that led into like, oh, I can qualify for Boston. And in my first marathon, I went under 3 hours and I like didn't even look at paces. I didn't even look at anything. So it was just like, I really just enjoyed like running. It just really came like naturally. Um, but I knew like just running, right? I mean, the guys are so fast on the elite level. Like I'm never going to be that fast. Like that takes like from a little kid. So then like, I just started delving into like other things. And it just grew from there. Like you go into running clubs around here locally, and then all of a sudden there's like a pro cyclist, right? Who's like running, who kind of like took a break being a pro cyclist, and like running on the side. And then he's like, hey, like, why don't you get a road bike and then we can go ride together? So then that was my my introduction into um, like the cycling part of triathlon, and then the swimming, like that came, way later, because swimming's like really difficult. But and I think like just continuing on that snowball effect, right? Like all of a sudden now I'm like riding bikes with like a former like college national champion, you know what I mean? And it's just like it just felt like, yeah, like I like this. I like this feeling. Because I was already running with like, college, athletes and stuff at the time or just graduated who were like really good in college. And then I just got like introduced to like this elite level kind of like thinking, and I really like enjoyed that because it was like it substituted right for like that soccer elite level like in college. Um, and it just fed like that what I needed again. Um, so yeah,
That's
it just kept going.
right. So, do you feel like your journey in triathlon then has been intentional, or has it been, organic? It's kind of just come to you and you roll with the punches.
Yeah, that's perfectly how you put it. It's just there was no like, oh, I'm gonna be like, um, I'm gonna go do triathlon and then be a triathlete and then be like pro. It was just like, oh, like running, cycling, and then like you cycle and running, and then you start swimming, and then all of a sudden you're getting like better, and then you're like you start looking at like the pros, and then you're like, huh. Like obviously there's different levels of the professional field in triathlon, like, but I started to notice like, man, I could be like at the bottom to mid end, like, and see where it goes from there. So yeah, but like, man, when I first started triathlon, never would have thought I would have like a pro card, like I never thought that, or winning like um an Ironman, being the first like amateur to cross the line. Like never would have thought that. So it was just, yeah, just
Right.
rolling with the punches, man. Organic, just
Right. Because it was the Wisconsin Ironman that you won, right? That was
yeah,
the
yeah,
first one. So kind of going back just quickly, it's what I find interesting is you obviously have a pre kind of disposition to being good at it because you did your first marathon and you ran sub 3, right? So you have something there that's working, but
yeah.
you
And like
just meant
it helps, right? Being good at something, like, I mean, I think that just goes like across the board with everything, right? If you're good at something, you're gonna tend to like pursue it, you know.
right.
And it's
But
hard to let it go.
you'd mentioned though you started hanging around with some kind of elite level people,
Hmm.
and that kind of changed your mindset, or that mindset of a elite level thinking was resonated with you? You're like, oh, I like this, oh, I touched this, and I think I can kind of do it. So
Mhm.
what's the gap between, do you feel, between somebody who is just very good amateur and someone who kind of thinks at an elite level in this sport?
Yeah, because I think I kind of like had both, right? It's like it's just like a man, it's difficult to explain. Like, I mean, on an amateur level, it's like you're not doing things uh intentional. Like, like thing when you start seeing things on an elite level, like every session there's like some kind of like purpose for it. You're not just, oh, I'll just, go run whatever and just wing it. It's like, hey, it's like intervals started coming into play, or like the mindset of just like, hey, we're gonna do this, and then we'll chill and like recover, and then the next day we go again. And it's like on the amateur level, it was more like I was still like partying and like going out to like 2 a.m. And then like running at like 6 a.m. because I was like, younger. You could kind of like wing it. Um, but then, it just things started shifting where I was like, drinking and stuff, um, or like staying out late. It just didn't like it's just crazy. Like from an amateur level to the level, it gets so much more like your vision kind of like goes like this, and you're like just focused, and that's how you really like progress. Like if you really like wanted to, and that's like the difference is like amateur, like you're kind of like, enjoying life, la la la. And then when you get to elite, everything gets more like specific in what you're doing, life and stuff like that. But then, you start really like enjoying that part, that lifestyle, right? It's like, dude, I just want to be like in this lifestyle. And that's like, I think that's the difference between like elite and like amateur. It's like there's like that point where like this is my life, like
Mm.
this, like
So
training.
you kind of accepted, like, well, not accepted, but you'd got to a point where you knew this is where you wanted to kind of put your
It just
time
it
and effort
just
into.
like it just it really just fulfilled me like in every way. Like I didn't really like, yeah, it's like you hit the sessions, like you feel great, and then you like want to just like do it all over again the next day. And you start just getting really into that like that mode, and you just, yeah, it just like keeps going. It keeps going. It's addictive. Um but it's like a good addiction, I guess.
Absolutely, there's worse. I can completely like resonate. For me, when you're doing any kind of activity, but especially after college, after playing soccer, it's hard to replicate that feeling of,
Mhm. Yeah, no, like
it,
the big thing with me is I didn't want to be one of those people that like, just let themselves go. It's just like for me personally, like I think like being fit, being like healthy is like really, really important. And that's like what I try to do. Like I have been trying to be like more active on like social media and stuff to try to like, you know, uh, just maybe people will just see a photo and be like, oh, I want to do that. Like I think cycling is like amazing, right? Like you can see like when I was in Spain, I mean, I've been there so many times because my grandpa lives there, but man, this was like the first time where I've ridden my bike like in the area, and where I really saw like Spain and where like he's from, and the people and like the little villages you ride through. It's just like I just feel like if more people did that, like the world would be like a better place.
I completely agree. I mean, there's no better way to see anywhere than
Right.
on a bike. To be honest, you're going to cover the most amount of ground, and you're going to see everything in a different
Mhm.
light. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, right? Because to this point, we've focused on you, kind of your sporting journey, becoming a pro triathlete, and a lot of people may be at home and be like, "Man, that must be nice. He must just train all day." he's got nothing else to do. This is a great life he's living. He's in Spain last week, and he's training. He loves it, but that's not reality. And I want to kind of touch on the reality of life, what you've been doing for work for the past 10 years. I know it was some in supply chain and the demands of that, and
Yeah.
also the sacrifices that come with. You didn't pick the most time. What's the word? You picked a time consuming sport. Put it that way. You want to go into Ironman. That's a lot of hours. So kind
Mhm.
of explain what you've been doing for work the past years and how you even did that. While pursuing Ironmans.
Yeah. It's been it's definitely hard to balance. For sure, because it does take a lot of time. It's when I was working, I worked for BMW, and also Volkswagen, and then other companies. So like I had a legit full time job, and BMW was I had to go in the office. So you hit a session in the morning, you know, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Usually like hit the pool, um, and then you go to work, and then what actually ended up happening was I started like working out during my lunch break. I mean, this is where the addictive side comes in, like because like I don't know, you start like, oh, maybe I can be a pro triathlete, but it's like you just see all this stuff on social media and like Instagram, all these pro like everyone's just like you need to grind and grind and grind, and that's just like what's in my head. So I'm just like I need to grind, and like that's just like what I've been doing in terms of like the sport and like work and life really. And then like yeah, just going back like hitting the lunch session and then hitting an afternoon session and just like every day, just like because you just have this goal that has popped up right in your life, and then you have this goal, and then you can't rest till you're like, I mean, you're never really resting. There's always like that next thing, but you can't really like stop until you like achieved it. So yeah, it's been hard. There's not a lot of time left for really anything else, so you have to you know make a choice, right? Um, so there's been some tough choices like lately. So yeah, tough choices, being honest, what you want to do. And yeah, just grinding. I've been grinding for, morning sessions, lunch sessions, evening sessions. You know, you try to find out times to like hang out with family or friends, but it's hard, man. And like at the point where like I go pro, um, which like even other like pros talk about is like they don't really they kind of sacrifice that family time and stuff because they want to like pursue this, and it's like um I'm at the point where it's like you can't really choose like what your heart like, or what like this journey, like I didn't really like choose it. It kind of like it came about over time, and it's like, hey, people need to understand like this is what I want to do, this is all the time it's going to take, and this is just like what I want to do with like my life. So it's like it's hard, right, to balance it. You got to be like pretty strong with like what you want to do, because there's always going to be people that, and I do struggle with this. A lot of people think I'm freaking crazy because I'm people that are like kind of outside the scene, like they're like, what in the world? Because like I visited my grandpa, right, and like he's like 82. I mean, he understands like training and stuff. He's a big soccer fan, but when he saw like when I was like training there, he was just like, this is insane.
Who is this? Who is this person who
Yeah.
spends all day on the bike?
When I went there, I'm training like here like 18 to 23 hours. Like over there, I really like bumped it up. So I was training almost like upper, like, 26 hours, 27 hours, doing like big rides every day.
Mm.
Um, So yeah, there's like, I went there to visit him, but I also like sacrificed a lot of time, to do my thing because I have like these goals that I want to hit this year with the sport, and even in life. Uh, I am like in a transitioning kind of time, so yeah, I do want to like kind of made some choices that I want to just like really be like indulged in this lifestyle. So
So
yeah, it's been tough for sure to balance it.
I can
As you,
imagine.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you're first like really jumping into the Ironman world, but Ironman distance and triathlon world, but working as well, there's a side of me that can imagine you're almost in autopilot because you go to work and you're working and then you come home and your brain, because you're all day thinking about the sport and getting on it, you know, did you find that your work, I'm trying to think how to word this. It's
Mm.
like I've had times in life where I'm so obsessed with something, be it a sport or something, that all I'm thinking about in the day is the sport, as you kind of said. And honestly, for me, at times it was like nice. It was relieving because I had that passion that I was working towards. So the work was just whatever. It's just what. How did you feel about your work days while you were doing the sport? Did it feel like an inconvenience? Were you just, I'm just trying to get to, you know,
Uh, it was like, yeah, huh. Let me just think about how I'm gonna start. I wouldn't say an inconvenience because you make money, right? Because it's
right?
like it is like kind of helps with things.
Well, that's the point, right? You have to make money, right? You have to do that. You
Yeah,
have to do the things that
yeah.
sustain you.
I just like I just started thinking about how like it wasn't an inconvenience really, but then it also kind of was because I also was thinking, there's also like other ways to make money even while you're working, right? Like working remote, like it can help, right? It can help do that, or hybrid, or um I don't know, other things like online business stuff. So it wasn't an inconvenience, but then it was because I was always thinking like, man, I don't need to like, if I didn't want to, I didn't need to like go into an office. It did start, and then like COVID happened, right? So, and then at BMW, they kept it where you go to the office, right? And so I have all these friends who are like, working from home and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I need to be working from home so I can like train and stuff. So, um, yeah, it just started like trying to figure out other ways to like make it not so much of an inconvenience. So that's what kind of like led to Volkswagen because that was remote, but then the job was just like it was pretty bad.
But
Um,
that's why I want to kind of move to now more the present day, because I know a bit at the back, and you're going through this transition phase, right? And a lot of people our age, regardless of the situation, will maybe be in a job they love, or maybe they're not in the job, but it takes a lot. And I feel this is partly due to the American system, but that's for another day. That kind of keeps you locked in to your job and feeling nerves about making a transition, moving toward a bigger goal, whether it be committing full time to something else, or um, you know, stepping away and giving time to reevaluate. What kind of got you to the point, and where were you when you decided, hey, I need to make a transition? I
mhm.
need to make a transition now. What gave you the courage, or is courage the right word?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. Because it all this stuff happened recently, in the last year, where job wasn't going great. It's just like I needed to make a change. Like I've been most of my life in the automotive industry, and I just was like, I need to get out. And there were like some projects going on where like they needed to be done by end of the year, and I knew like that wasn't gonna happen. So I was like, I need to dip quick. So I ended up like quitting, and there was like some personal stuff going on. Got out of or a relationship ended, and I just knew like for me, like I just needed to be like honest, like with everything, like my life, like what I want to do, my lifestyle, like I want to keep doing this. I want like my whole life to be like kind of like engulfed in it, because I just really like I love everything about it, even the stuff where it's not so great, even like just the sometimes grinding is like it's tough, but man, like it just makes those downtimes so much better when you've like grinded through something. um but yeah, I knew I had to make a transition because I was like mentally like burnt out, mentally like not going in a good direction. Like not like great thoughts and stuff, you know what I mean? And I just knew like, man, I need to like change this up before like I'm going like down a dark road. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened. And then I broke my collarbone to add like another like wrench into the plan. But the like I just knew I had to like change something. My plan was like to do like a sabbatical, right? Like to quit all this corporate BS, and go to Spain. Honestly, I was planning on going to Spain for like uh November, December, and then maybe January, like 3 months, like just freaking siesta. And just enjoying time with my grandpa because he's old and I haven't been there in like 10 years. But then, yeah, I broke, like, look, dude, it was crazy. Like, I broke my collarbone literally the weekend of like when I quit my job. So, dude, I'm like, I'm like letting go of like all this stuff, like trying to like take control, like last day. And then like, I'm going to like Cozumel to race, right? And I'm like really good shape and I'm like super excited. And then yeah, that weekend freaking broke my collarbone and like everything's gone. Like not everything, but I'm like, the next 2 months, it's gonna be pretty rough. But
Talk
yeah,
to me about that just quickly, because there's a we were just chatting before this, but I'm not going to say you're clumsy, but the last time we rode together years ago, you
mhm,
had the worst the worst crash I've
yeah,
ever seen. I mean, to be fair, I don't think American roads are designed very nicely for cycling, but we were out in the sticks in North Carolina. There's a weird ass train track that just went across, and you and another guy, I mean, destroyed yourselves essentially. And
yeah.
then when I saw that collarbone thing, I was like, oh no.
I mean, honestly, like I still think like that, like impact, like was a lot worse, um, like worse feeling, than like the collarbone thing. Cause like I don't know, like I was on my TT bike, right? Like I was down in Florida, cause Ironman Florida was going on, and I was just down there training and then watching some friends. But yeah, just flying, hit some sand and flew. But I mean, like I hit the ground, the bike, everything was everywhere, and I mean, I got up, right? I remember that wreck. I was like kind of hurt, like I really hit my hip, bad. But yeah, I got up like when I broke it, and then like I went to pick something up, and I just felt like this like shooting pain, and then I felt like right here, and it was just like it just sunk in, and I felt over here, and I could feel like collarbone sticks out pretty good, and then I felt back over here, and I was I knew like it's broken.
So emotionally, though, coming after that, because you're at the point where you're really excited for this, and I know myself personally when I'm going through injuries, because athletic sports is is my mindset, it's my life, and essentially I take
Yeah.
a big hit, and how do you kind of, where are you, to get a little bit personal, where were you at that time when that happened, and how do you kind of,
At that moment, I was just like trying to understand like what like what just happened. And then like in a sense I was just like still thinking, right, there's still a chance. Like I was like, I'll be all right. Like, like I'm just trying to be like positive, but then, a guy like pulled over because he saw it happen. So he's like helping me and stuff, and then like I sit down and he's trying to help me out. He's trying to talk to me, and I'm like, I can't even. I'm just so like, what? Like I'm about to go to like literally the week after I'm going to Mexico to be like in paradise, right? Is in Cozumel. Um, and there's gonna be like a lot of people there, like locally, like, oh dude, it was gonna be great. Like we would race and then like drink margaritas after. Yeah, and it was hard like at that moment to like accept that. Like I was like, especially with like everything that happened before, because I was like, this is what I've been like. I mean, this is what's been keeping me going, right, for the past couple weeks. And then you just, I don't know, like, I just got into the mode at that moment where I like, okay, well, just don't even worry about that. Like, I got to go to like a hospital and figure this out. But I remember thinking, like, the guy who like pulled me over, he was like, dude, that was the gnarliest thing I've ever seen. And he was like trying to talk to me, and he was like trying to bring me to like the hospital. And I just remember being like, dude, just leave me here to die. I'm like, I'm just gonna like go in this like little like divot over here and just like, you know, lay there for a while.
so a month
Like
later,
he,
how do you refocus? How do you, a week or two later, when you're back at home, you're on your own, and you're like, okay, this has happened to me. How did you start to refocus, or how did your mindset shift?
yeah, let me think about it for a second. You just like you have no choice. Literally. That's literally what happens. It's like you can either um and I kind of felt like it happened for a reason. Thing like everything going on, it was like a mind like strengthening moment, which I kind of wish it happened like maybe a couple months back or a year back, where I would just like have this moment of like, I don't know, like just like strength building, like mental strength building, like moment to help me, figure things out. So yeah, like as I was saying, like no choice, right? You can either just like sit there and just like hate your life, or like figure out, or just, I don't know, read books like while you're laying there, like think of something else that can be a positive impact to your life. And it was a lot of positive self-talk, even though like it's crazy, right? Like in my mind I'm like hating everything, but then like there's another like person, like another you, like trying to like talk positive and stuff. And then all of a sudden you have like, you have family and friends and people reaching out that help, and it was only like a collarbone break, right? So it wasn't like crazy, like breaking a femur or something. But it was a bad break. Like the guy was like, broken in 4 places. So it was like probably on the like worst end of a collarbone break. But I have to say, like it did hurt, like even the recovery stages, but it wasn't like too bad. Like I mean, it happened like 2 months ago, and I'm already, like on my feet, flying, feeling pretty good now. Um, but yeah, man, just goes back to no choice, and what are you gonna do? You have like one side, you're just gonna like cry, which like doesn't do. I mean, yeah, like you can cry, you know, get it out, but then it's like, all right,
Back to that kind of, I like how you went to a place of like positive self-talk, and I think you
which
kind of
is
mentioned
it wasn't.
earlier.
It was, it's not like rainbows and sunshine. Like you're still, it's man, it's tough. Like uh, it was tough because like I did have like this plan, right? Like I was gonna do Cozumel, race, like kill it, and then go to Spain and like be there, train, like hang out, live that life over there because it's like it's pretty great. And then figure out like my next steps, like job wise and stuff. But then it is hard to like uh plan things when you're like in pain and sitting there, like you're literally just like fighting through the minutes, right? You're like, oh, one more minute down, like I survived, because it's like um yeah, going through surgery is like it's pretty tough. And this was like my first like pretty bad break. So um but yeah, coming through the other side, now I gotta figure out how to like make some money again. Um but I'm working on it. I do, man, I do want to make like I do want to figure out how to make money and like keep training like pretty hard. So
Right, and I think you will. Right, there's no you. If the history is to say anything, that's going to happen. You're going to continue doing it. But
yeah,
explain to me a little bit, because you mentioned the community and just being part. Every part of it, even the bad parts, interest you. What is the endurance triathlon community to you?
I mean it's everything I have right now, right? I mean whether it's like Instagram or on Strava or um training with people or the group rides. It's great. And like whenever like anything bad happens, everyone like, is reaching out, figuring out like what they can do or, help out or, um, yeah, I mean, pretty much like it's that simple, right? Just, it's like you're not like alone, right? It's like, you're in this like little secret cult of like all these crazy people that are like doing the crazy endurance stuff. And it's like, I don't know, it's a cool, cause I know you're like in it, you're in and out of it, doing like the running and trail running and stuff.
Yeah, I'm
um
the amateur you explained earlier. Just trying
yeah.
to just trying to stay fit.
But as yourself, it's a cool little like community when you go to these races. And like I love going to races because it's like it's just everyone there is just like a fanatic like you know what I mean? And it's just like, I feel like at home.
You're around your people.
Yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just always great to have a community where like everyone's just like minded. Um, and you just feel like you're, not the only crazy one. um, yeah.
That's a good feeling. So we're going to wrap it up, and I kind of just want to look forward to the future a little bit. And 2 months post surgery, you're on your bike a lot already. You're
Mhm.
doing a lot of things the sport perspective, and where you're looking to go. What are, if you don't mind, sharing some of your goals around being a pro triathlete and
Mhm.
evolving more into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like a big goal of mine is to like just get back into swimming like decently again, or even get better at it. It is like my weakness, is the swimming part of it. Um, but I think like my goal for this year is to really like, to just to make it black and white is get into the top tens of like races, like which is pretty much trying to get into the money. You know what I mean? I mean every race is kind of different. Like sometimes it's like top 8 or top 10 or whatever, but um, I think that's like a reasonable goal, because triathlon has definitely grown, and it's like, man, these guys are good. Like they're really, really good. And a lot of them have figured out how to like support themselves while training. And like honestly, triathlon is all about like, it's not all about like who can train like the most, but it does help when you have like time to like recover and stuff like that to like hit the next day. So yeah, I think like from the sport, just like I would love to get into the top tens and stuff. Maybe do a race like in Europe. I really fell in love with Europe. I mean, I've been there so many times, but like riding my bike there, like for real and training there, I'm like, man, this is like, and you talking about the roads, man, the roads there, like no hole, like no hole. So it was like, I totally get why all the pros like come up here and go to Spain and like train in the mountains and stuff because it's fantastic. But yeah, I think like from the pro level is honestly just also just keep progressing. Take it race by race and try to get more out of myself. It is crazy how as soon as I hit like the pro level, how like everything just like elevated. Like even like my performances, like I know you know what I'm talking about, like in a race, like 30 watts more, like that. Like where did that come from? Like that's a lot of watts, you know what I mean? Um
Was
so
that all from, you think, just your mindset of being a
oh yeah.
professional now?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like if you think you're at your limit, like you are not. Like you have like an extra something. And I think like just going into the pro field and racing it, because it's like you're racing and like I just remember specifically like being on the bike and being like, I have no choice but to literally like suffer right now. And like there's no like, oh, what are my power numbers? Like it was like just go. And then you find yourself like, oh, I can actually like do this for like 2 hours, you know what I mean? Or even more. So I think like yeah, just to like grow even mentally, like um see what else like I can like tap out of here, on the performance level. And then obviously like yeah, personally, I don't know. I guess I'm more focused on like triathlon right now. I think the personal stuff will hopefully iron itself out later, when I'm like pursuing like a life that I really want. So
Absolutely. I think you already are. You're already taken the step to commit yourself to something you love. You know your people, you know who you want to be around, and every day you're giving yourself to that. The
mhm.
rest of that other bull crap will will come together when it needs to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, brother, I appreciate you so much for coming on. We'll have to do this again down the line.
No,
And
I was just gonna say we'll have to do this again when I'm like 2 or 3 years down the road, or even next year to see like how I've done.
oh,
So
next year for sure. I don't think it's going
maybe
to be 2 or 3 years to see you go.
maybe I interview you, man.
Hey, I'm down for it.
How you started podcasting and stuff.
I'm down for it. So anyway, appreciate your brother. Everyone else, keep it easy.
Peace.